Good evening, and thank you for joining us for our first Transit Safety Town Hall. Our division is undergoing a transformation journey, and your feedback is important to ensure we work towards a shared vision of safe and inclusive spaces. My name is Erin, and it's my pleasure to be moderating this evening's event. As moderator, it's my job to keep the event on time and make sure we answer as many of your questions as we can. An important note, this event is being closed captioned. To use this feature, please enable it on your video player. So I'll start the evening with our land acknowledgement. Let us take a moment to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of many nations. In particular, we recognize the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. We acknowledge that Metrolinx operates on these lands and has a responsibility to work with the original keepers of this territory and the many Indigenous peoples living here today. Now we'll move on to our safety moment. Safety is fundamental to everything Metrolinx does. As lockdowns and COVID-19 measures are lifting, many of us may be returning to our normal activities, including taking transit. For our safety moment, we want to remind customers of our transit safety dispatch line. If you ever feel unsafe, our transit safety team is available 24 hours a day at 1-877-297-0642. We recommend customers add this number to their phone contacts in the event you need to reach us quickly. As a reminder, we are not first responders. In the event of an emergency, press the yellow emergency strip or call 911. So now we'll move on to some housekeeping items. The event this evening will be an hour in length. We'll begin with a brief presentation by our transit safety team, and then we'll be moving into a question and answer period. As you'll see, there is a mechanism for you to type in a question, which also allows other participants to vote for a question. If you see a question that covers your area of interest, please vote it up. We also have a call-in option for tonight's event. In your registration email, you received a link to join a Zoom meeting. You can raise your hand if you'd like to ask your question directly to the panel. In addition, we do have pre-submitted questions that were gathered from the survey that was held earlier this month. And again, if you've just joined us, the event is being closed captioned. To use this feature, you can just press the button indicated below by the red circle to enable it on your video player. So now I'd like to introduce our panel. We are joined by members of our leadership team. We have Ian Smith, who is our Chief Operating Officer here at Metrolinx, as well as Rod Jones, who is our Director of Security, overseeing our Transit Safety Division. We are also joined by a complement of transit safety staff, including Jessica Langley, who's representing our Investigations and Intelligence team. Chris Lamont is a Revenue Protection Officer at Metrolinx, and Bonita Thompson joins us in her role as Special Constable. So I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Ian, Rod, Jessica, Chris, and Bonita. And I will now pass it over to Ian and Rod and the team for the presentation.
Hi there, yes, Ian Smith, Chief Operating Officer for the Go and Up network here at Metrolinx. As you could probably see from that previous photo, that was very much me pre-COVID. Can't wait to find a barbershop now. I think I may have some chance this weekend, but doesn't it for me just feels personally quite nice now that we are seeing a bit of light at the end of a tunnel, that we may actually start to come out of the COVID pandemic that we are in. So who we are and why we're here. Well, as part of my portfolio, the Go and Up network, if you're familiar with it, so that's both rail and bus. I've got a big map over my shoulder, over the screen here. It's from Barrie all the way in the north through to Niagara in the south, and to the east we have buses to Peterborough, and to the west as far as Kitchener. So it covers a huge geographical span, and through that goes through multitude municipalities and multitude number of MPPs, multitude number of police authorities and health authorities as well. So we cover a very broad area. We are a Crown agency. We report into the province. Makes us a little bit different to a lot of the municipalities who you may be familiar with. You know, for example, like TTC reports into Toronto. Mississauga has its own transit and so forth. So we are unique in that sense that we are interregional. We have a huge span, and in normal times, or less on normal times, we move millions of people every year. We're just coming out of a pandemic, as we said now, so was a great opportunity for us to be meeting with yourselves and also take stock about where we are as a business into what we do going forward. So if you do next slide there, please. Thank you, Morgan. So today, really about honing in here in the town hall on our people in transit safety and what they do, and how we can work with yourselves or see what we can do to improve, or what people's feedback is of what we already do. It was great that we got a survey done. I think we had over 200 plus respondents to that. And I have to say, I would have loved this to be in a town hall where we can all see each other and meet each other, because I think just as much as me lecturing over here to you, the small talk that goes on between these things and getting to know people and getting to see people, I can learn as much from that as I can from questionnaires, surveys and Q&As as we have them. But with that, I'll hand over to Rod. Hi, Rod.
Hi, thanks, Ian. And so I'm sort of in the same boat as Ian. I'm a people person, and we're doing this one online, but we hope to have this sort of as an ongoing part of our operation here in the security division, and as soon as we can, make it face-to-face. What I thought we would do just before we get into the transformation is very quickly do a high-level overview on what it is we do in the security division and transit safety, just to give you a little bit of a level set of what the team is all about. And so our first area is revenue protection, and that's what Chris, the area that Chris works in. Our revenue protection officers and our back office staff, prosecutors and review officers and the team look after predominantly on our trains, making sure that the fares are paid, and that a lot of the issues related to the Metrolinx bylaw on conduct are looked after. That's a uniform function as a revenue protection officer, and they're sort of out front, face-to-face, interacting with our customers on a daily basis. Then we have our special constable program, and our special constables are, again, a frontline uniform response. And Bonita is on that frontline team. Bonita and the team have special constable status, and that's an appointment that's made by the commissioner of the OPP, and they do the vast majority of our proactive and call response reactive service to protect the people on our transit systems. We also have some specialty teams, and Jessica is representing one of our specialty teams on our investigation side. We've got investigators, we have a K9 team, an intelligence analytical team, so quite a modern and well-run special constable program. We also have a corporate security division, and when you think corporate security, think of physical security and access controls and CCTV coverage. One of the sort of an important area is crime prevention through environmental design. So how our buildings are set up and designed and functioning from a preventative lens. That's sort of in the bailiwick of the corporate security team. And then following up and helping everyone is our operational support group. And that team does a lot of important functions. One of the highlights I think that we're expanding on, and this is a little bit of future state, but taking our training team and making an outreach training and development team and spending some more time working with members of the community and our customers. Morgan, can we go to the next slide? And a little bit about who we are. So our North Star, or our common meaningful purpose, is getting everyone there safely. So that's what we're all about. Metrolinx has three values sort of statements: serving with passion, thinking forward, and playing as a team. And for us in transit safety, we really want to look at some strategic priorities. And first and foremost, and the most important one for us, is protecting people. And our primary objective is everyone that works on or uses our transit network for work or pleasure feels safe and confident to do so. And that's really what we're all about. And part of the reason, as we transition into the next part of our little presentation on the transformation, is really our objective and intention for this evening is to reach out and begin the conversations with the community and our customers on what we can do better to enhance that feeling of safety and confidence to use our transit systems. So with that, I'm going to turn it over back to Ian to start our conversation on the transformation.
Thank you very much, Rod. Thank you very much. So yes, so transit safety and transit transformation. So I think really what I want to start here is to really say, why do this now? And one of the things which I was very keen on in this area, and really probably, you know, if you take how long COVID has been with us, an awful lot has changed since we basically shut down as a country, didn't we? And then obviously as transit, we shut down. It exposed a lot of issues in the fabric of our society. It also exposed a lot of issues about law enforcement, particularly, you know, locally as well as around the world. And I think it really tuned in for myself and my colleagues about it is so important in safety and security in a transit organisation like Go that we are truly relevant to the people we serve. You know, we are fundamentally a customer service function, and we need to, as it said, you know, look after the safety of all the customers who use our network and be relevant, and also create that safety as well for all the communities we serve on that route as well. So we've never done it before, so here was an opportunity to do it. We've got no grand announcements for you today. There's no sort of like hopefully big reveal here, but really what I want to hope you get from us is a bit of a thread about what we're trying to do, where we're evolving, where we're changing, but also to see if it is relevant for you. And I've got a strange thing with Teams. I have got no idea if there's 10 people watching us now or 110 people watching us now. But I really do value that you are in on this with us. So please feel free to ask whatever you wish to ask, or give me statements about what you think about Go Transit, Up Express, Metrolinx in this area, because we're generally in that area where we are forming our future. But the 4 areas we've picked out and work going on has been around the P's there: the people first, us, you, the community, our customers, our staff, preparedness. So much is in the planning. Partnerships. We're not an island. In fact, there's very little we can do by ourselves. It's how we work with others. Protection, really, there's a lot there covered where you've heard from Rod, and you'll get more about, well, what does protection mean? And prevention. Prevention's better than falling ill in the first place. They're all areas which are up for discussion, up for debate, up for finessing, and for us to move on and shape. So with that, if I hand over to yourself, Rod, maybe you start taking us through some of those areas. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. I'm going to kick us off with the first P, I guess, is people first, and attracting the right people. So, Ian said it, and it's worth repeating. We're in the service business. We're actually in the people business, and for us, the customers and the community are most important, as are our staff. And the most important resource that we have internally is our people. And we're really taking a hard look and reviewing our hiring practices. And I'll give an example for the transit safety officer. Sort of historically, one of the prerequisites or requirements for becoming a transit safety officer was having the knowledge of law enforcement, or the law enforcement principles, or having experience in that area. And we're really considering that that's not necessarily a qualification. We can train you with that. Instead, we're really looking for the right people with the right character traits, the ability to use good judgment, the ability to problem solve. Really important in today's day and age, the capacity for empathy and compassion, possessing and sort of demonstrating really good integrity. Really what we're looking for on another sort of overarching goal is a diverse and inclusive team. And on the topic of being inclusive, I'll turn it over to Chris to take us through our next session.
Thanks, Rod. I'm going to talk about the second P, which is our preparedness. Now, as part of that, we're committing to invest in the training and coaching of all of our employees at all levels of the division to bring awareness to, unconscious biases and foster the right behaviors that promote inclusivity and equality. We want to create an environment which celebrates our differences and engages our people at the core across Metrolinx. Our interactions with the community matter, and we are committed to building an inclusive culture because we know it will move us better, faster, and delivering our promises to the communities we serve. Metrolinx continues to make improvements to our training and coaching programs with mental health awareness, suicide prevention committees, homelessness, and our 2S LGBTQIA training. On an employee level, we're already taking action. We're opening lines of communication with each other. We're allowing our shared experiences as a diverse group because we are to be heard. We're talking about the importances about how our words and actions can affect others, both the customers and each other as employees. We're giving a voice to our POC and 2S LGBTQIA team members. Many of us are also engaged with our employees resources group, specifically our resource groups dedicated to our Black and 2S LGBTQIA employees. It's about making sure that every employee and every customer feels included and that we're on this journey together. So saying that, I'm now going to pass it on to Jessica, and she's going to talk about our third P.
Thanks, Chris. I'm Jessica. I've been working with transit safety for quite some time in our investigations unit right now, and I'm going to talk to you today about partnerships. And partnerships is really one of the big pieces that make the difference in our job, what we do, and how we can serve people. Partnerships with our internal stakeholders, with our revenue protection, and serving Chris's department, and our special constable services, the other divisions within Metrolinx, and the community as a whole, whether it's our riders or the public that's affected by our services in some fashion. So for partnerships, we're going to establish and maintain relationships with supporting agencies in the communities to understand the current needs and risks to your customer experience. We need to hear from you, what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, how safety works for you. That's what partnerships are all about. We can tell you what we're doing for your safety, but we want to hear what we're doing for your safety. What can we do for your safety? We're going to continue to build on these partnerships in the community with a newly introduced community outreach program. This is going to align with our training and development programs that will go for the public and our internal stakeholders. In May, we reached out to the community leaders to conduct a transformation survey, which has helped us focus on visibility, awareness, bias, and the perception of our transit safety. In June, we launched the engagement survey with over 275 respondents, and we're going to continue to collaborate with the community for feedback as a part of our transformation journey. And to build on our role as that trusted community partner, we value your input. We're conducting community engagement in the form of these surveys and these town halls to hear from you, to hear from your experience, so that we can serve your needs. This fall, we're going to be launching pop-up campaigns at different locations across our service to build awareness and visibility into our service offerings and contributions in providing a safe and secure experience while traveling. That's about hearing from you and serving for you. It's us working together. Safety is a partnership. So I look forward to this transformation and to moving forward. And as that, on the front line, our transit safety officers are out there 24/7 to bridge these partnerships. They're the front line, they're there for you. And let's hear from Bonita. I'll pass over to you so you can reach on to the next piece. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Jessica. Hi, everybody. I'm Bonita. I'm one of our transit safety officers here with Metrolinx. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our protection and prevention and what we're trying to do here to make sure that everybody travels safely while they're on our system. When it comes to the protection, what we're looking at is we'll ensure that policies, practices, and operations meet the highest ethical and equity standards, both internally and externally. We're conducting regular audits on our policies and practices to provide a safe journey, which is key priority for us. What we're doing to provide a safe journey and what practices have we put in place? Well, we're providing myself, like our frontline officer staff, and with an education and training on key community concerns that are out there. We are actively engaging community leaders and sharing best practices to protect by actively using our teams to communicate through our dispatch, frequent patrols, and to monitor hazards and reporting unsafe conditions. Safety, again, is key priority in getting everyone there safely. Looking at our prevention part of it, we go to that next slide there. When it comes to prevention, so another thing again that we're trying to focus on is that prevention, what to do before things actually will happen. So we will establish, track, and monitor the measures of success to confirm that we are moving in the right direction and to identify any areas that we need for improvement. The safety and security are key priority in prevention, so such as addressing feeling safe when you're traveling after dark or alone, or in an increased population where there's a lot of homelessness or any kind of apparent suspicious activity that you've noticed. How we're addressing these concerns to improve transit safety is we're assessing those peak hours and presence at night. We're trying to be out there a little bit more so that people can see us and get a feel for where we are. We're also using virtual patrols, like so that CCTV monitoring. We're looking at data and incidences reported to measure that performance as well. We're also looking at increasing our resources based off of our bus, rail, and station needs as we prepare for that return to work. So again, prevention, again, is another thing that's key that we're trying to focus on so that, like I said, we can get everybody there safely. And I'll pass it back over to Aaron for monitoring.
Perfect. Thank you, Benita, and thank you all for your presentation. It's very great to hear everything that you're doing in transit safety, and thank you for sharing all that information. So we're now going to begin the discussion and question and answer component of the evening. Like we mentioned earlier, we have a few different channels in which people can ask their questions. So we're going to start with our first question that was pre-submitted. That I'll be reading out here for you. So it's, what is being done to address issues of racism, discrimination, diversity, and inclusion in the Transit Safety Division? And Ian, I'll pass that off to you first.
Yeah, thank you very much for the person who put that question in. That's very, very helpful. And I think it also gives a bit of framing, I think, to some of the things we've been talking about here. Yeah, so diversity and inclusion. We have within Metrolinx a diversity and inclusion directorate, and they report within the HR department into the chief executive, and they provide an essential service to Metrolinx, no doubt about it. When I joined Metrolinx, I wasn't familiar with that type of department. And the key element it has brought to me, and it's brought to the team, is awareness, education, as well as occasionally some, strong messages and strong lines for us all to follow. But the bit I have found, which has been incredibly useful, and it was just mentioned earlier, was the element of bias that can be in a organisation. That bias can actually sometimes occur due to design. Sometimes it occurs due to ignorance. Sometimes it occurs by accident. Sometimes it can occur because we have genuine bias as well. And what has been great about the inclusion policy and what we've been adopting through here is to tackle all those areas and do it also with a very positive approach, because diversity is awesome. We want to reflect the society that we're in. So to have diversity is absolutely awesome. We are, historically as a network, if you take a rail network, you can kind of think people look a bit more like me and Rod than they may look like others. We need to come along a way to be, more diverse in what we're doing. So some of the areas to really go there. Let's just perhaps take some of the harder hitting areas first. We do have within the organisation now a harassment policy, and also with that, we call it Workforce Harassment and Discrimination Team, who are independent. Occasionally, they also bring in third parties to do external work for us. And there is a there is a anonymous line within Metrolinx for all employees that if they wish to talk to somebody about harassment of any sort, both sexual as well as race or all forms of harassment, bullying as well, to do, and we encourage people to do so. Those are also then followed through and investigated, and all workplace harassment issues which then get found that assertive action needs to be taken, as well as coming to the HR chief. They also, if it's my team, come to me, and we also discuss them with the chief executive officer as well. So it certainly has teeth. It certainly leads to policy change, and it also leads to us to sense check ourselves of, are we as good as we need to be in this area? The other area, and it was mentioned earlier as well, is the employee resource groups we've had. And we've got a fair few of these now. Just mentioned a couple here, the Pride 365 and the Black and ethnic minority groups. These are made of people who work in Metrolinx. They're not people who have been parachuted in or experts in a field. They are people who work in Metrolinx. And if I was going to try and describe what they bring for me and what they bring to the team, is, we want us to all work safely. We want to be in a safe space. There are external pressures which are on us all. There are things that are going on outside work, which we certainly do not want to see inside work. But they really bring insight and balance about what it is like in Metrolinx. And I certainly use their consultation, their advice, their feedback a lot in the work I do. When I say I, it also means my team, Rod does as well. And also we have representation also on this call from people who are very active members in those areas. So if there's anything else that may trigger a conversation to talk about, more than happy to do so. So yeah, we do reflect society. So sometimes that means we don't always reflect all the good bits. We may also have some of the not so good and occasionally the bad bits. But we are truly focused on this, that we want to be that diverse organisation that people from all societies would want to use, because we're customer driven. It's the customer that at the end of the day really, pulls us along here. But we also want that people who work here are advocates of what we do. And that is so, so important in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Okay, moving on to our next question here. We received from an anonymous individual. Why do all the officers at Union just stand there while homeless people take over the station? It can be scary waiting for my train. So maybe Rod, I'll start with you with that answer, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great question, and there's a couple pieces into that question, and I'll start sort of at the end of the question and work my way forward. The end of the question is speaking to feeling scary or not feeling safe while waiting for your train, and that's the exact opposite of the feeling that we're going for. So at any time that anyone in our system is not feeling safe, and there's a transit safety officer there or not, give us a call and we will come and be there. That's our job. Part of our transformation is looking at our deployment and making sure that we are as best as possible at the right place at the right time, and being present and having that visible presence, because the feedback we've received so far and the research has shown when people see uniformed officers, there is a level of safety and security. We do have in a number of our stations, as we do in a lot of our big cities, Toronto and others, vulnerable people. There's homeless people across the province. Again, higher concentrations in larger urban centers. We had a pretty unprecedented situation that we're just now, as a province, getting out of with the pandemic. And I think there was a higher than what we were used to seeing presence of homeless folks in areas like Union Station. We tried to balance the idea of having a safe and secure environment for everyone, including the needs of the vulnerable people. We did a lot of work in partnerships. And so in Union Station, for example, we worked with Streets to Homes with the City of Toronto to come in and do some one-on-one support. We were giving out crisis bags that had masks and cleansers and hats and that type of thing to help them. We also have a code of conduct, and it's one thing for a person to be in Union Station. It's another one for them to have overt actions that cross the line and create a safety issue. And for that, we will take action. One of the things we're considering, and we'd love to get some feedback on in our transformation, and it would be part of that operational support team that I showed you, is a special response and crisis intervention team. And that team would be made up of specially trained transit safety officers and mental health nurses that would work in partnership with members of the community and stakeholders, shelters, to work with our homeless and vulnerable folks in our systems and in our stations to try to get down to some root cause issues, and as part of a Metrolinx part of the community, as a good corporate citizen, try to help out folks that need our assistance on the vulnerable side. But it's an important issue, and it speaks to the feeling of safety. So I appreciate the question. Anytime someone doesn't feel unsafe in our system, I would like my officers proactively to go and speak with our customers. One thing we're going to be trying to do more of, and conversely, please, Benita will attest to that. We are open, and that's our primary job, is to make you feel safe. So do not at all think that you are not providing or asking for a valid service. If you want someone to walk you and wait with you on the platform, or walk you from the station to a taxi cab or your next form of conversation to your car, that's what we want to be doing. I don't know, Benita, if you want any quick follow-up on that, or?
Yeah, for sure, Rod. So looking at Union Station and the location, I almost guarantee I know where you're talking about at the York Concourse there. For us, I mean, we do regular patrols all around the station, but we found over the last little bit that being visible in the York Concourse is a little bit it's more feasible for you to get to us a little bit more quickly, since that's kind of the central hub where people are looking at where their trains go, or if they have to catch a bus and whatnot. More often than not, probably at least 2 officers you'll see in that York Concourse. It's just when we're moving around a lot, we do have, like I said, with that operational support and stuff, we have our dispatchers that are calling us to other calls that we will answer. But if we're centrally there at York, then like Rod was saying, we have absolutely no problems with you approaching us. We just want to be a little bit more visible, so it's a lot easier, and you kind of know that there's usually an officer there to come up and approach and let them know that you have an issue, or that you may be being harassed, or there's something going on. And normally, like I was saying, if it is something where a lot of the times we do want to provide that comfort, or at least somewhere, especially in the winter time, a lot of the shelters were full. There was nowhere else for a lot of these homeless people to go. But as long as they weren't causing too much of a disturbance, we would give them about a 15-minute timeline and then try to get them to shuffle on and move on. However, like I said, the ones that were causing a disturbance or being unruly, it was a lot easier to be right there in the concourse to hear them, so we can attend to that right of way, because most of the time that's, again, generally where most of our public is congregated to wait for their trains, unless they know they have to catch a bus over at the BT. So it's probably why you're seeing them in the concourse a little bit more often than just kind of not being there at all.
Wonderful. Thank you both very much for your response to that question. So I'll move on to our next one that was pre-submitted from the survey, and that's why conduct this exercise now, which I know, Ian, you touched on earlier, but I'm wondering if you can elaborate further on that question?
Sure. Yes. Hopefully not repeating. Is that now's as good a time as any, but also I think we just need to do more of this. Jessica picked up on it earlier about that outreach from ourselves. There's no point us patting ourselves on the back thinking we're doing a really good job. There's no point in us thinking that the way we conduct ourselves is the best if our customers and our communities and also actually our staff as well see otherwise. And for us to make sure that we don't become so inward looking, things such as the transformation we're doing now and the community engagement we're doing, customer engagement, because we get a lot of customer insight as well here, is really appropriate. So we just want to get better at what we do. We want to improve at what we do, but we also really want to be relevant at what we do. And that's why I think, as the team said about the P's that we've pulled out from there, is that they're all sort of like the bedrock approaches to what safety and security is all about on a transit network. So yeah, let's get in there and listen, frankly, and then respond and regroup and do whatever we need to do. Thanks. I don't know if many of my colleagues have any comment on that, because it's easy for me to say, but I know folks we have on the call, you're actually doing the detail of this, not my good self. I don't know if you've got feedback on why do this now, other than I said it would be a good idea. I'm sure that we had better ideas than that. Chris, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, to add to it, I think not only do, does a corporation want to do something, but the staff want it too. We're always looking, what's next, what's coming, and we want to see continuous improvement as well. So, I mean, that's just a small piece of it, but it's on all levels that we want to change now and always.
Thank you. Back to you, Erin.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you. So our next question here we have, it's kind of like a comment, so maybe I'll read it out and I will pass it to Rod and through the team. So Go should look at installing call boxes with cameras at platforms, especially at bus loops, because at night at unattended stations, it feels very insecure. So Rod, if you want to start.
I'll start and be short because I think that's a wonderful idea, and I'm going to write it down on my little notepad here. That's the type of feedback that we're looking for, quite frankly, is the initiatives and whether it's people or technology or processes that our customers are looking for that feeling of safety. And whether it's a way of contacting us through cameras or call boxes at key locations. Absolutely great feedback that I'll be putting into the transformation thought process going forward and working with our specifically corporate security team, but also our stations and capital projects group as we look at building new locations and what would safety look like as we go forward. So I appreciate the comment.
Perfect. And I think Jessica actually can jump in here too to chat a little bit about safety at night, particularly for people who are feeling a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah, thank you. And I think just to build on what Rod was saying there, the ideas that we're hearing from the customers and the people using our services about what would work for you, how you're perceiving your safety, because we could talk about the services that we have in place. We do have the 24/7 transit safety line open for anybody to access. We do have payphones along certain areas at our station. We have emergency strips and some call boxes at some locations at our buildings. But if we put this into place for your safety, but it's not working for you, that you're not having the safety experience that we're expecting or wanting you to have, it's the ideas of what will work for you, whether it be a call box or those other sorts of technology that's going to work for the experiences for you while you're traveling across our system. It's so vital for us to hear about that end of what's happening so that we make sure that what we're providing is measuring up to the expectations of our riders. And I think there's a lot of options out there that we can explore that would give a lot of benefit to building on that outreach and the ability for people to access these safety features, as our system is so expansive and we do operate throughout the night. People can feel isolated in areas, even when they're on a service. Sometimes it might be the matter of sitting on a bus in an area where you feel that you're not necessarily in proximity to getting that safety that you want or need. So hearing how we can look at different technology features to bring that safety to your experience is crucial, whether that's going to be you're traveling at noon in the middle of a week, or maybe you're traveling at Wednesday night when it's late at night and you can feel a little bit more isolated and alone. And we can look to find all these different available features so that we can make sure that what we're doing is working for your safety. So please keep the comments coming. Extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And Ian, over to you.
Yeah, just a thought. Maybe I'm pass this to yourself, Roger, if you've got your little notepad out. But the person who put the question in, one of the things which we have to do more because we're not able to answer that question straight on about the bus loop as an example. But if there are particular locations, and if a person had a particular location in mind about not feeling safe at a bus loop, that is really valuable to us. All our bus loops are designed to a standard that meets the criteria for whatever. But if it's not providing that level of assurance as well as that level of security, and we've not had any incidents reported, sometimes these places get missed. But it could be they're just getting missed because people just aren't using them because they didn't feel safe and secure there. So getting this bit of loop going or feedback of information would be great. So if a person who put the question in wants to reach out, we can give some emails at the end of this to Rod and the team on any particular area or any particular location, then maybe we probably take that just that one little extra step to see what we can do. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you all. Okay, so our next question, we have.
I've just seen Benita's got her hand up there, Erin. I think.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm sorry, I can't use the function on the thing here. I just wanted to add on that, like Jessica was saying, there are different avenues where you can report. Sometimes when it comes to us, we do our regular patrols, like again, that prevention key that we were talking about, but we also see people put things through on Twitter, and that kind of gets to our dispatch, and then we're notified of that and we end up going. If you find that like certain areas, so if you're constantly somebody who takes a certain route and you notice that more suspicious activity or unsafe or lights out in a bus loop in an area, what happens is that they actually will create what's called a task for us, and that will frequent those areas or will be tasked to be there at certain times so that we know that that's a problem area. It's just like what Jessica's saying, if you don't let us know these things, we unfortunately we don't know that this is an area that needs to be attended quite often, where we do have some of the areas that we know where a lot of trespassers are, or that are a little bit of problem areas. We do tend to patrol those areas a little bit more frequently, but if it is something that we're not 100% sure of, we might come to that area, search it, check it, and then move on. But if we know that it is a problem area or something that makes you feel unsafe, then by all means, we need those to come in so that we're fully aware that task can be created, that you'll see a little bit more presence in those areas for yourself.
Wonderful. Thank you, Benita. Greatly appreciated. So for our next question, I have here, are your plans and goals at each step transparent, nuanced, and community focused? And Rod, again, I'll start with you on that one.
Thanks, Erin. The short answer is yes. That's what we're working towards, and we're expanding our sort of approach from being sort of internally driven, that we think we know everything and we're going to go ahead and do it because we have a lot of expertise and experience, to really being a partnership approach and working with our customers and community. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're creating and going to be sustaining and resourcing the outreach portion of the program, right? So we have a lot of expertise in different areas. One of the things that I don't think we've done enough of or well enough is the outreach and having that continuous feedback loop. And maybe I'll ask Jessica just to give some more thought or some more sort of color commentary on outreach and some of the ideas and intentions of what that program could look like. Again, always looking for feedback from our community and customers, but some initial thoughts of directions we're thinking of.
Yeah, thank you, Rod. The outreach and community partnerships is a crucial part of our way forward. We have been here for many years and we've been providing these safety services, but as we've been talking about tonight, it's opening the doors, and as we're doing here today, hearing from the community and having this two-way communication that we can actually reach out to you, hear from you about what the experiences are, and build our services to hearing from you. Part of our community outreach and education will be hearing the pieces that are affecting our partners, our riders, our employees, our community partners, and building our services tailored to meeting the needs that are there. We have reached into many different areas already, and we're just getting started in our structure for the community outreach partnerships. But we have been working at this for many years. We've been currently looking at programming for how we're helping everybody and employee safety and personal safety on our system. So we are outreaching, we're working with our stakeholders to provide services and education to help everybody else around be able to develop their own skills, to be able to better recognize, handle situations around, and manage their own safety so that we all get to play that role in creating a safer environment. Whatever avenue we can take, whether it's providing education, it's getting a little bit more interactive work together with the other departments and our other stakeholders so that we can understand what their exact needs are and help develop our skills towards that. The point of prevention, as Bonita was talking a lot about, we do a lot of proactive work, and to be able to develop our community partnerships to really kind of meet threshold that, get those needs out. What is it that, and I'm sorry, I have a little bit of distraction going on in the back here, so I've kind of lost my train of thought. I apologize for that. As is life, a lot of kids in the house here, but just to get back to the point there, Rod, as you kind of mentioned on there, we're really focusing on developing this new outreach program to really figure out who it is that we're serving and how we're going to develop our programs to meet the needs of each individual group. And I hope that's answered your question, and I apologize for the distraction there.
Not at all. I think we've all learned in the last year that, our home lives, our work lives, it's all blending together. So it's always good to roll with the punches. So no problem. Thank you for your answer. And I do have a note here. It looks like we do have someone from Zoom who wanted to share a question or comment. So Peter, I'll get you to patch us through for that, please.
Hi, Erin. Thanks so much. We've got Felix here on the Zoom side. Felix, I'm going to unmute your microphone and then go ahead for the panel.
Hello. So I would like to ask a question about how I think I have a good idea of how the design of the stations could be improved. So as someone else had asked earlier, I think that the intercoms are a great idea. And I also, I think another great idea is, so I like how at Union Station on weekdays, they announce all the train departures, like when the trains are about to depart and which platform they're on the PA system. And I think this would be a good idea. So may it please be extended to all stations and 7 days a week, because it kind of like gets people, like it gets their attention like off their phone, like, and watch out, the train is coming, like it kind of like gets their attention that the train is coming. And my other question is, could it be a good idea to turn the accessibility platform where the accessibility coach with the CSA stops into like a designated waiting area or like a designated off-peak waiting area? So like more like when I'm traveling off peak and alone, I usually like to travel in the accessibility coach because I feel safer there since I have the CSA there to like help me, and they're always very polite and willing to help. So I think that like more security cameras, lighting, an intercom, and a bench could be added to the accessibility platform, and a large sign like designated waiting area could be added there to encourage people to wait there and get on the accessibility coach when they're traveling alone, so it's safer. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Felix. Great
for your
questions.
comments.
It looks like Ian's got his hand up there.
Yeah, thanks, Felix. Thank you very much. I mean, if there's anything on station design or what you see, you'd like to reach out to one of our people on that one, we can certainly arrange, to have you can have a conversation with some of maybe our customer service delivery colleagues or the design team themselves actually on any of those areas. Then that offer's open to you. You'll see there's an email at the end. You can make contact and we can have a fuller discussion. But just as a headline piece there, just on the PA systems, there is a modification taking place on the PAs. I haven't got with me when this will occur, but it is to improve the announcements of trains prior to when they arrive in a platform. It's a bit different at Union Station in the sense that it's a very, it's a magnet, isn't it, for people? It's a magnet for trains, and thereby, so we have a lot of, manual announcements there. Some of our other stations, it's not as easy because it's not linked as it could be to where the train is at any particular time. So we want to get it right so that when the announcement is made, yes, the train is actually there. It's not just a ghost announcement of something that doesn't exist. So there's a work we're doing on there to get systems to talk better to each other. But I do take your point absolutely that it just does help the customer experience and also, safety as well, particularly the old cell phone. And one of the things you've really reminded me here is about how dangerous places can be if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time with the train coming. So, great comment. So thanks for the reminder. In terms of a designated waiting area, I don't know if there's something at all that Go Transit has thought about or tried previously, but it's certainly, I know I've seen it on New York, I've seen it on the TTC, but I don't know if some of my colleagues may have a view on that one. Jessica, sorry, Erin, I'm doing your job now. Jessica, I see you're waving at me. Jessica.
Yeah, I'd love to touch on the designated waiting areas and the idea of an area for safety. Like I said, we want to find a way to bring safety to you and how it will work for everybody as they're experiencing traveling or however they're using our services. Some people might be using the train services and waiting on the platform, and sometimes they choose to use the services at other areas, because we do have a very long platform area. So we do need to find a way to bring safety to your hands, essentially, so that you can access that help or communication when you need it. The designated waiting areas are something that we have looked at on our end and just kind of looked at what's out there, how does this work? But it really does need to be a broader discussion. As Ian said, a discussion with out to our customer service delivery team and how we're designing all of this. I think it's a really important conversation, and thank you for bringing it up. I think it's something that our team really needs to take away and have more conversations about. Because when we talked about that, being at night and being out on the platform or wherever we may be isolated, where do we go for help? How do we know to wait there? How do we access the services and assistance that we need at the time? The TTC, as you guys, I'm sure everyone does know, in our city here, travels along there, designated waiting areas have become a norm, where there's an area, as they talk about, with the benches and the cameras and the call box and everything there, worth exploring. But I think just to bring it back to the ideas, how is safety in your hands at the time? How are you safe in the place that you are? And how do you access the help when you need it? And overall, I think that's a great conversation for us to take away and have that discussion, whether we have those areas at our stations or it's built into our overall plan so that safety is accessible everywhere that you are across our service.
Thanks, Jessica, and thanks, Felix, for that very thoughtful question. I'm going to pass it back to Erin here. We're all through with the Zoom room.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And sorry, now I'm having a little distraction in my background, so you might hear a little bit of a noise there. I think we have time for one more question, and that's, why is GO Transit security not more visible, i.e. on the train? So Rod, I'm not sure if you can quickly speak to that.
Yeah, and I can. It's part of the transformation. It's one of the things we're looking at. Again, if we go back to our primary purpose of protecting people, and by that we mean the feeling of safety and confidence to use our transit systems. One of the deployment aspects we're looking at is getting back to on-train deployment, especially as we look at ready to ride. And a lot of our customers who weren't able to be with us over the pandemic coming back to us. We've got a lot of events. People are ready to get back into life, and whether it's events in Toronto or along the system, an exhibition or other areas, we're getting ready for the bigger crowds, and we're getting ready to respond to that. So I think on-train deployment is definitely an area that has come up in our discussions, and one that we want to pursue. We want to be again, it's being at the right place at the right time, being intelligence led with that. Part of that is feedback from our customers and community, and our knowledge of different events and working with the different Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. If only the Maple Leafs were still in the playoffs, for example, if only. But others as they start to roll out. So the short answer is yes, something we're looking at, something that we want to get more and more involved with. We're doing it. We got away from it and sort of got pulled in other directions, but we're through the transformation refocusing our force back into protecting people. And Benita's going to let me know what's going on, because she's on the front line actually doing the work.
Yeah, thanks, Rod. So I think another aspect that we have to look at too is the whole pandemic and the fact that the train service changed slightly. So a lot of the times when we were on the train, it was quick to ride a train, do inspections, help out with our revenue protection officers and stuff, and then maybe hop off a train and immediately hop back on another one to get to the other direction. Unfortunately, with the pandemic and when the train service changed to somewhat of either half an hour to hourly service, what that does is takes a couple of officers off the road, puts us on a train, and then we're waiting an hour to hop back on another one to get back to a vehicle. So unfortunately, if there was a call for us to answer, we're now 2 officers, maybe even 4 officers down from actually being on the road and getting to that train a little bit quicker than actually being on one train specifically and just kind of riding back and forth. But again, once we start getting back to whatever our normalcy is going to be, yeah, absolutely, we would love to be back on the trains, get that presence, meet a couple of people. I was just doing that before I came into the meeting and stuff, and I know that a couple of customers miss seeing us on there, but yeah, that's probably one of the main reasons why we weren't on the trains during the pandemic as well. It was just the turnaround for call volume, and again, it's that protection aspect of it where we might be on a train that doesn't need our service or need us there, but then we have another call that we can't get to right away.
Awesome. Thank you very much both for the thoughtful answer, and thank you everyone for the thoughtful questions submitting ahead of time, and again to our call-in options. Really great to hear all this thoughtful information. So as we wrap up here, I'm going to pass it over to Ian for your concluding remarks.
Yeah, thank you everybody, and certainly thanks to the team here. As you've seen, Bonnie and Chris, we've pulled you in from your regular work. In fact, Bonnie, I was expecting any time somebody to dash in through the door behind us there. And Jessica, it's great when the family return, but perhaps not when you're in the middle of one of your conversations. But well done, everybody, for that. Well done indeed. So yes, just to wrap, I think this is the start of the conversation, not the end. I'd want to do this again, preferably when we can all see each other. So, hopefully not too long to wait for that, because it's important we keep getting the energy from the interaction going. That way we will improve. There is no doubt about that. I like the insights from the questions we got as well. They are genuinely very, very helpful. So to keep the discussion going, There are some newsletters that our comms colleagues, Erin's part of that team, are generating, which will include where we are with the Guardians of the Journey, the Transit Safety Transformation. You know, we'll come up with a good title for that. But this is a journey that we are on, and I'm sure it's going to be a bit of a wavy one, like this picture you're seeing in front of us as well. There's the pop-up meet the team sessions that Jessica mentioned. We'll get those publicised as well. But also, you'll see on here, Rod's kind enough to put his email address there. Please use it. You know, please comment about what you've heard. If there's stuff which doesn't land with you or you're concerned about, throw it back to us, and we will give that a further rub down, respond, and see where we can do to shape to meet people's needs. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, and Erin, thank you very much for keeping us all in order. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.